Hi everyone, good to see you all. I already see a lot of people here. Hi Diana, I just saw your message. Glad you found it some other way. Hi Ada. Hi everyone, good to see you. Mark is here. Linda, Vanetta. So many of you. That's so great to see you. Guys, before we get started, yeah, please share where you're coming from so everybody sees that we're a really international group. So there's so many INFJs from all walks of life here. And at the same time, just give me a little feedback if you can hear me all right, if you can see me all right, if there's any delays or anything, so we can make sure that the technical parts are all intact before we get started. We start 3 after the hour. So we start 3 like at 03 and we end at 03. So don't worry, everything here that you can watch, this is recorded, you can rewatch it. So don't put any pressure on you. If you want to write something down, you can, but as I said, first just get something to drink, get something to write if you want to, and just be part of today's session. Yeah, just let's see first off that everything is okay. Paula says we're hearing you all right. Great, thanks Jennifer. Okay, I see people from France, Los Angeles, like everywhere. I saw Ireland, Netherlands, India. Okay, US of course. So good to see you guys. So yeah, um, oh yeah, 3 after the hour. I don't want to start too soon, just to make sure that nobody's really missing anything. Yeah, what we're going to do today is I want to give you some insights into the INFJ Epic Life program, as in why it has worked so well for so many INFJs throughout the last years, why it can be like a great resource in getting that final step done in tapping into your potential and making things happen. And I want to give you a little bit of a backstory of how this all got started, why we have so much experience, as a team and as a community, to know what works for INFJs, and then just take it from there. I want to answer your questions. So today is really all about giving you some insight, answering some questions, and then we pretty much let the entire group and everybody in here a little bit navigate this whole thing of what we're going to go a little bit deeper into. So I see like so many of you. Okay, great. Norfolk, again, somebody. England. Okay, three, almost 3 people. Kentucky. Good to see you guys. So, okay, let me give you just a quick overview. So, what we're doing is we're doing 4 times a year this INFJ Epic Life Bootcamp. This is like, we've been doing this for 4 years now. Hundreds of INFJs have gone through it. And yeah, I myself have been an INFJ life coach, for the ones of you who don't know, for the last 10 years. For the last 5 years, I've been doing this full time. And for a long time, I had a lot of one-on-one clients with INFJs. So there's a lot of experience, as in what works for INFJs, what doesn't. So it's not just my personal experience and the things that really make me transform my life, but first through having that really one-on-one relationship. And now again, we've had like hundreds of INFJs go through boot camp. It's just, the knowledge keeps just growing. And so that's what the boot camp is all about. So we really narrowed down the areas that are the most important for INFJs. We narrowed down like the steps that we as INFJs, like once we take them, make the biggest impact. And so yeah, that's what we continuously just improve. And since it's lifetime, as a lifetime like a lifetime program, so once you're in it as long as the program is running. So many INFJs keep coming back, because this is not just I've done it once now and I'm done. So no matter where you're at in your journey, you can join a community. You can use not only the energy from the community, but like just tap into, this is where I'm currently at. These are the next steps I'm taking. And so the fact that so many INFJs keep coming back is just the best signal for me okay, this is working. Like I see the progress, I see people excited, and I want to keep sharing that message because you have to understand the reason why I started this channel to begin with is because I, did the typical INFJ things, the things we read like online of, being the martyr or being an INFJ who doesn't really value their own journey. And it really, I ran into the ground. Like I had no energy left. I was completely depleted. And once I made those big changes in my life, because I pretty much didn't have another choice, I looked into the internet community of INFJs, and at that time it was all about poor INFJs, victim mentality. I'm just so different. I suffer, and at least now I know I'm not the only one, which is like a great start. But there's so much more. Like I honestly believe every single INFJ out there can like really live this fulfilled life. Like I know and I remember how it was thinking life is happening outside of me, and it just doesn't feel like this anymore. And it's really my goal to change the entire INFJ community online to really tell INFJs there is another way. Let's make that happen. And so everything that I do is based on that. And the boot camp is really pretty much the last step if you really want to take it to the next level. And so I'm not only like that's all I'm going to say about the boot camp in itself, unless you have questions, of course, but I really also want to take the time to go into the content, right? So it's not just join boot camp. Yeah, one last thing, we have an early bird offer until Monday. You have a 7-day money back guarantee, so you really have no risk. Not just for the early bird. Like if you join until November 11th, that's the last day you can join. Because we won't have any late admissions. So the next Saturday is our first live call. This is the gated community, and that's when we really start with the content. So yeah, and if you join now within this masterclass live, 1 second, then you also enter to win one of 3 audio guides. That's it. That's all my sales talk, because I just want to make sure that everybody who's here knows that and gets all the information they want. And now I want to make sure that I answer your questions, that we go into the material and just get this thing going, because you deserve to live an INFJ epic life. So let's just look excuse me, into the chat and see if we already have some questions. If you have some like things that you want to take on, that are on your mind when it comes to I want to start my INFJ epic life, please share that with the group, and yeah, we'll take it from there. So I see, thank you so much for all your kind messages. Okay, just a quick if you choose the payment plan, it's 3 months, right? So it's you can that's how the 3 payments are done. Okay, so just a quick general question. So if you look at your life as an INFJ, what is missing? What is something that you say, overall, this is what I want to achieve, this is what I know is in my soul? For a lot of us, sometimes it's not even that obvious or evident, but that's also very typical. Like, so it's first off all about understanding what we want, to really learn how to listen to ourselves. And then what I found the most important thing for INFJs, and this is like, I tell you this like without any like inch of a doubt, we need to take action. We as INFJs are cerebral beings. We are all about thinking things through. We're all about the vision part. And so we are already really great at that. What we need to do is to bring that vision to the real world. And that requires some action. And I know we don't have infinite energy, right? That's why I always say we are INFJs. We don't have to do all the things. We just have to do the right things. And this is something that is just non-debatable. You cannot wait to think things through, to wait for things to happen, But what a lot of INFJs struggle with is first off to say, well, I don't have the energy. And second of all, I don't know what steps to take. And that's what the entire INFJ Epic Life program is all about, figuring it out and taking the steps parallelly. Okay, so let's see. So Mary says, "Oh, look, it's dark. I need to change that. Hold on." So Mary says, "Can you be?" Let me just change the color here so we can see this better. One second. We don't want any blur. We'll get there. One second, guys. So the question is, can you become a healthy, turbulent INFJ? Definitely. Like, that's not even a question. Yeah, maybe like that. It's a little bit better. Not much. We'll optimize this. I don't know what's going on. Let me just try out one more thing to make sure we're good here. So I think now you can see it a little bit better. Yeah, so there is, in my opinion, no doubt that a turbulent INFJ can get healthy. There is no such thing as like a turbulent INFJ is always going to be in trouble or vice versa. It's all about understanding what makes sense to you. So my whole thing is, and what I've seen with while working with so many INFJs, is that the most important thing is to understand ourselves, as in, I need that alone time, for example. Like, I need it. Like, I need to be 4 days a week, like no contact, if that's you. Or if you're somebody who says, well, I want to have some contact with people, but it's like this amount, or whatever it is, we need to figure out what makes us happy. And this is like something that we do through trial and error while taking steps into those directions. But definitely, like, there's no doubt in my mind, and I've seen this countless of times, there is no thing, okay, INFJ, like T INFJs or A INFJs, it's all like definitely possible. You just have to be willing to look at, let me find out what works best for me. And maybe what works best for you is different than what works best for an A type. But that's what this is all about. It's all about helping you understand yourself. Like, my whole thing is, I don't want to be like an enabler. I don't want to be in a position, which is something we INFJs do so often, which is, you need me in order to be happy. You need me in order to succeed. Like, my whole goal is, you need me, you need the community, less and less and less. You want to be there because we're a great bunch of people and we're motivating each other and we're reminding each other to take those steps. But it's like, you become more and more aware of what you want, what you can do, what makes you excited, right? It's all about you finding what will make me want to get out of bed in the morning, will want to make me like take the next step, right? We don't want a life where it's all about keeping our heads above water. Like, we can do so much more than that. We're great at survival. Now let's become great at, thriving. Okay, well, I think you mean, like, do you consider yourself a happier person? Definitely. Like, in comparison to the time when I wasn't taking those steps that I'm taking now, was definitely not happy. I, had everything seemed okay or even great on paper, but deep down, I knew I wasn't really living like my life out. The best indication of, am I tapping into my potential as an INFJ, is this: is life happening outside of me? Do I feel like something is missing? If you feel like something is missing, you haven't tapped into your potential yet. Because I can tell you this one thing also from personal experience. It wasn't after 5 years or when I was able to quit my job or all of that. It wasn't after that time that I felt like, oh, now I've made it. It was the first day I changed my approach. And then, like, nothing externally had changed, but I knew I'm on a new trajectory. I didn't feel like something is happening outside of me. I wasn't waiting for something. I knew this is the reality I do have. Like, I'm not looking at, oh, I have this perfect life in my mind of what should be happening. Like, I'm always saying, our vision is our North Star. We can adjust it, we can improve it, but what we have to do is to say, okay, I'm keeping this here as, like, as I said, my North Star, my guiding light, but I'm looking at what is my reality right now? How are my relationships right now? How do I like my financial situation? How am I living out my purpose? Am I living this out? Is this something that comes through? Do I feel energetic? Do I feel like fully alive? And it's really about, like, one of the things I always keep saying is externally observable facts. Really take away from what you have going on in your mind and look at what your reality is. And once I really understood, I cannot rely for somebody to recognize my worth and then it's going to be better, for somebody to pick me, for, my vision to just miraculously come to life, but to understand my vision will always be different than reality. And every single time my reality comes closer to my vision will always, like, continue to grow. And then I really understood, well, I don't like my relationships. I don't like the job I have. I don't like, my apartment and, like, how I'm living. And then it's like, okay, what are the next steps to take to, improve my life? How can I make my life better than it is today? Like, how can I make it, like, today better than it was yesterday? And then this is when we tap into, the different pillars and we say, okay, let's first improve our physical energy, because in order to get out of that rat race, in order to get out of that default state, we need to improve our energy as much as possible as INFJs, because we know it's just a finite thing. And then we tap into our relationship dynamics, because walking on eggshells, which so many of us do, just first off, it drains you of so much energy that you could use to actually change your life. And second of all, the relationship dynamics that we have are an anchor of the person we either want to be or we don't want to be. So if you continuously have relationships where the person is mirroring back to you a version of yourself that you don't want to be, it's that much harder to get out of that, right? So it's really about changing those dynamics in a way where they actually anchor you into the person you want to be. So it all starts with you, of course, but again, we are INFJs. We cannot just say, oh, I'm going to work through this in my mind. I'm going to, like, just meditate on it. We're doing this already. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Please continue doing this. The things that are missing are those action steps, are those uncomfortable conversations, are doing the things that are hard, but that we know in the long term it's going to take such a burden off of me, because I don't have to continuously watch my back. I don't have to continuously pretend something is okay when it isn't. Then the other thing is wealth management. And, I'll probably at some point we're going to change this to prosperity, because the main thing is we need to make sure we feel safe. And this can be completely independent from living out our purpose, at least for the beginning, because I've seen so many INFJs actually betray themselves in, like, what is really in their soul, because they think, well, I have to do something that makes money. Keep them separate. Make sure you're doing something that makes you feel safe, something that gives you enough money to live out the dreams that you want, and that can also influence and help you to live out your vocation. So it's not about saying, oh, I as an INFJ, I either have to choose the artistic life or I can make a lot of money. You can have both and they can be separate. And at some point, you can combine them. But we want something that makes you, like, go with the flow, right? We want it to be easy. We want it to be like you're not fighting against the system. And that's all about, like, here understanding, well, what works best for me? Like, how can I approach any kind of, wealth management, which in the end is energy? It's like, how can I add to society in a valuable way that is easy to me? I'm not pretending to be good at something that I'm not, but I'm also starting to value what I give. So often we underestimate the fact that we are so great with other people, when in the end it's exactly those relationships that close deals, that bring in whatever it may be, that get you the right opportunities. And we have to start valuing those things, and instead of saying, well, but I'm not good at those other things. And so many INFJs, they wonder, oh, I should be so great, I should be better at this. Well, let's really focus on what we already are good at. And if we have enough examples of how that can work, miracles happen. And then independently of that, we really work on bringing out our gift, bringing out our purpose, because this is something for INFJs that will come up sooner or later. Some people can go through life and never worry about this. For INFJs, it's always in the back of our mind. I need to bring out like my gift. I need to share that with the world. In the pyramid of Maslow, that's the last step, the self-actualization part. For us, it becomes one of the needs much earlier. And then the last thing is all about like really looking at improving our priorities, because there's so many things that we understand, but then other people want something from us. We feel obligated to certain situations. And then although we theoretically know what would make our life like shift incredibly fast, how we could like be at a completely different space, like in 30, 90 days, like in a year, we're not, making that happen because we don't know like how these things are, just those other things that are not making us move forward, how they're just cluttering our life. One of the best things here is to really focus on the things that are important but not urgent. So you writing your book, for example, something that is super dear to your heart, that's one of those things, because there's nobody going to be out there who says, oh, have you written your book yet? Well, I expect you to finish it by this time. Like, it's exactly those things that we do for ourselves that we need to prioritize, because there's no external, there's no urgency there. And so this is one of the examples that when it comes to priority management really make a big difference for INFJs. And so everything in every one of the pillars is completely tailored to INFJs. Things that, as I said, I've done this for 10 years. So I've not only gone through it myself, all of my one-on-one clients, I don't do this anymore. Like now I really only focus on bootcamp and the programs. And, the hundreds of INFJs, like I think we're over 300 now, that have gone through that, there's always refinement and always like looking at, okay, this works really well. How can we improve this even better? And still, it is all about you learning to trust yourself, that you already know the answers, that you already know what you really want, and to just like feel it out. And it all goes like with action. You cannot get these things done if you're not like doing things that are externally observable. So, oh, I've worked through things. Well, could you theoretically tell this to somebody and they could, observe this? No. But is it like, okay, I actually wrote 3 pages in my book. I actually applied for another job. I handed in my, my CV the other day. I went apartment hunting. I had that uncomfortable conversation with my aunt. Those things are externally observable facts, and those are the things that are necessary for us INFJs to make the big shift happen. And the most important thing that we have to understand when it comes to this is you don't have to do all the things. You really don't. So many INFJ things, I'm not fast enough. I'm not capable enough. Just because you compare yourself to somebody who's always busy. You don't have to be busy as an INFJ. You already have the vision. We just have to see what are the couple of things, and they can be minimal, like we're minimizing them, we're optimizing them. What are the least necessary steps necessary, but you get what I'm saying, to make that shift happen. Right? Because it's not about discipline. It's not about self-control. It's about changing your identity to such a place where it feels normal to you, where it doesn't require any additional, time, energy, or anything like this. Like, it's supposed to be easy, but it really starts with you, pushing that dynamo. Like in the beginning, starting that thing will require additional energy, but then like your overall the overall energy you need for this thing to happen and for your life to flow in a way that is in alignment with who you are. Like, you're not tired anymore, you're all excited, and things are really flowing. So I'm really, excited about sharing that with as many INFJs as possible. So Batisha is a long time bootcamp member. So finances is this time you want to focus on. Okay, great. So Leslie says, I've made a pretty epic life on my own, but I'm feeling pretty bad in love at the moment. Um, Again, we're going to, like, this is something that, is going to get worked through, because what we want is to somebody to, like, that is adding to our life. So often we look for something that is going to take ourselves out of our life, or somebody that, that we have to make compromises for. And so, definitely, one of the things we talk about in relationships is intimate relationships and how to approach that. And yeah, Leslie is already part of bootcamp. She just joined. So I think maybe next week you'll have access to the relationship pillar, and you can also watch the lessons on that as well. Okay, let's see. Okay, communication in my relationships. Yeah, everything, like, this is all things we take on. Here, this is perfectly said. Our vision is so strong that we think it is enough, and then we do not see the need to make the effort. On top of that, we get an emotional payout. So if you have a vision, it excites you so much that you already get this dopamine kick of, this feels so good. And then no action is being taken. And for the longest time, I actually felt, so what? I want to feel good. Who decides what is right or wrong? Doesn't it matter that I only feel good? Yes, it matters. But the truth is, having that vision in our mind and not taking action doesn't really make us happy in the long run. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. Otherwise, we wouldn't look at, different opportunities to learn things and to optimize this, because it just doesn't bring us anything more. Like, we need to grow. Like, as human beings in general, we need to grow. And as long as we only have a vision and nothing improves in our real life, we have nothing to feed our mind with, something that allows us to grow our vision. The vision that we have now is based on, what we see, what we experience. And if we're stagnant, our mind just isn't, like, can't absorb new exciting things that allow the vision in itself to grow. So every single time you improve your life, you're also helping yourself to expand your vision of what is possible. What could the next thing be that I take on? And so it is just in our nature to grow as human beings, like, one way or another. And for us, it's growing really on our terms. It's not about saying, oh, I need to achieve these accolades, or I need to be part of this social group, or anything like this. It is really on us to decide what makes me feel alive, what makes me feel fulfilled, what is the thing that's going to make me want to continue growing. And, being part of this community is, like, such a big part of it, because you are constantly in this atmosphere of people choosing themselves. And on top of that, it's INFJs. So the energy is really all about, trusting ourselves, making things happen, doing it in a way that doesn't overwhelm us. Because I'm all about, we need success stories every day. It's not about taking on something huge and then failing continuously. It's about starting to be proud of what we're already doing. Because we can only improve what is already happening, right? We cannot improve upon things that are, that we're not happy about. Like, one of the best examples I love to give is, if 98% of your day seem like they suck and 2% seem like okay, we need to focus on those 2%. We need to expand the energy of those 2%. We need to make more of that happen, because that's the only way you can improve. And those 2% become 4 and 8 and 16. And before you know it, more than, like, half of it, and hopefully, like, at the end, like, 98% become positive. But if we focus on things are not working out, like, things are not happening, like, all of that, you just you just won't move. It's not like this esoteric thing. It's just, in general, if your mind is focusing on what is not working, we automatically pick up what is also not working. And so we get, you know, like our whole entire mind starts focusing on those things, and we subconsciously or consciously do even more of that. And when you start focusing on what you're already happy about, what you're already proud of, what you have like done for yourself, and like how you're becoming the person you want to be, and how you're proving to yourself that you're keeping the promises you make to yourself, that's when it gets really interesting. That's when you have like those amazing, days where okay, I got it. Like I'm feeling alive and things are happening the way I want. Okay, so again, how to motivate ourselves to make the constant effort. So my whole thing is, on the one hand, yes, motivation is like bathing. Uh, that whole thing, which is it goes away. Yes, that's why you need to do it every day, like bathing or showering or whatever it is. But at the same time, we don't need discipline. We don't need to have like those whole things that really are all about I'm working against who I truly am. So I give you an example. One of the things we talk about in pillar one is improving our sleep. Because guess what? Of course, if you don't sleep, you don't have physical energy or enough of it. And when we want to make things happen, you need as much energy as you possibly can as an INFJ. Because we already have, you know, we don't have that much to work with. So if you're somebody who goes to bed at 2 o'clock, the goal then is not to like I need to be in bed by 10, and every single time I'm not able to do that, I'm failing. What we want to do is to say, let's go it slow. So 1:45 is the latest you go to bed, until this feels completely normal. There is no discipline needed, there is no willpower needed, because no matter what, now in that example, you don't ever go to bed at 3. The latest it's 2. So apparently 2 is not difficult for you. And we want to get you to a place at some point, if this is your goal, to be at bed at 10 p.m., but not while you're feeling FOMO, not while you're feeling, oh, I'm working against myself, which is my identity is I'm somebody who goes to bed at 2 a.m. This is your current identity in that example. And if you are working like outside of that too much, you're always bumping against that identity. And we want your identity to get to a place where it's like, yeah, I'm somebody who goes to bed at 10 o'clock. I don't feel like I'm missing out because I have more energy during the day. I wake up earlier, and all of this is going on. And this is just an example of how we make things happen for INFJs, because I know this works best. We don't need willpower. We don't need motivation like the way we need it, like, oh, you're just not motivated enough. No, we change our entire identity in a way where we become the version of ourselves we want to be, step by step. And I promise you, there is no, like, once you learn how to make those 15 minutes work, you can transfer it to everything. Because guess what? We're INFJs. We can transfer knowledge. So it works for sleep. Well, it also works for how I apply for a new job. It also works like how you're going to apply this, like from 15 minutes to half an hour and whatever it is. So this is what I've learned works for INFJs incredibly well. And I'm nobody who would ever say that's the only way things work. I don't believe in that. I don't know what I don't know, all of that. What I do know though is that this works. Like we've done this over and over again. We've like applied it in so many different areas, and the INFJs see the results. I see the results. So that's why I'm so passionate about this. That's why I'm like sharing so much of this in the free content I do every week, because I want every INFJ to feel like, of course I can do this, because you can. Like, sometimes, we shouldn't, not sometimes, but if we take it like advice from people that are not where we want to be, why are we doing this? But if you see an INFJ who's gone through this, who's had the experience, and I'm not just talking about me, like hopefully you see like so many INFJs also in the comment section who are already in bootcamp, who have done this, and they can attest to all the changes and like everything happening, like they've made it happen. Let's just take an example of this. And it's really about learning more and more step by step to change your identity, to make this happen in a way that feels in alignment with who we want to be and without having to discipline ourselves so much, right? Okay, so Loretta says, is it normal for INFJs to feel confused about whether they like something or someone versus just the idea of it them? Would the bootcamp help with that? Yes, because what we do is we understand so many things. You see, let's say you see a person and you have a quick interaction with them. You already can make a really great assessment of who they are. But that assessment is still not what it could be. There's like whatever how great our mind is, it will always fall short to the reality of it. So every single time we are not sure, does this work? Is it only happening in my mind? Whatever it is, it needs the action part. You need to try it out. There is no other way. You can never rely on your mind to make the full assessment because we don't have all the information. It's like, let's say there's somebody that you meet, and again, you have a great, impression of them. Unless you have that conversation with them, unless you talk to them more and more, there's still puzzle pieces missing. And if you have those puzzle pieces, you will make a different or the same conclusion, but you cannot make it with the information at hand. So I've seen like my entire life change the moment I stopped completely relying on, oh, that's how it feels in my mind. It's not the complete picture. We need to take the steps in the real world, those externally observable facts, and take that into consideration. Like I don't want to go too deep into, the cognitive functions, but the point is we don't like external rules. We don't like TE. But there are just a couple of just things we need to take into consideration. So I'm so sure I had this connection with this person. I've done this so much in my younger years. I know we had this, this is exactly working out, and maybe that have been true, but the reality is that person hasn't called you. That person doesn't want to have anything to do with you because you probably, are going too deep or whatever it may be. The point is they don't want to have the contact. So why do I, as an INFJ, keep continuing to tell myself, but I'm missing something? This is it works so well. Well, let's take the information at hand into the consideration, which is the externally observable fact. Well, that person hasn't called you once. That person didn't want to hang out once. They don't want to be around you. Okay, whatever the reason is, I neglected that, not because I didn't want to admit it to myself, but because it was so obvious to me that it made sense in my mind. But now I say, okay, I'm just becoming more conscious of this might not be complete. Let me just take a little bit of those externally observable things that are going on into my consideration. Not all of them, definitely not. We don't like to do that. The fact that we do so much independent of what is going on in reality is the thing that is one of our biggest strengths. We just have to make sure that if we do those two, three things, we just add to the equation, which is not much. We just don't go off the reservation because I've wasted years sticking in situations that didn't bring me forward, when I could have just understood the situation, changed my perspective on the situation, on the person, and then learned my lessons, and then just changed my entire outlook on life. And this is what we learn here, to trust ourselves, but to also know I'm going to get the missing information. I know there's no way for me to know everything. So Rachel also says, how do I work more on my T? Don't overdo it. Really just take a couple of things. Just double check. The only thing for INFJs when it comes to TE, externally observable facts. Just make it's a quick check. You do your vision, you do where you're going on, you do what you want, and then you just double check. Is this an externally observable fact? Does this just happen in my mind? Or is this real evidence there that this is something that could work? Or is there an evidence that is saying that cannot work, right? We just take a little bit into consideration. Don't overdo it. We don't like doing this anyways. So Vivian says, I'm surrounded by toxic people. How can I get out? Very typical INFJ thing. We attract people like this. It is really creating that life for yourself, because those toxic people, they give you something. There is a payout of it. You feel more alive. You feel like your life is not boring. Like you get some kind of energy out of this. So let's say you on your own, that energy feels numb. It feels hollow. It feels stagnant. And then there's this toxic person around you. They at least make you feel alive. So if you're by yourself, let's say your energy is over here and that toxic person is over there. So it's not nice, it's not healthy, but it feels better than completely cutting those people off. So, and the goal here is you can't just say, oh, I'm going to remove this. We've tried this often enough. It doesn't work. What works is that we improve our own situation like this, and like this, while you are not making like such a big deal out of being around those toxic people. And then you get so excited about your life. It feels so much better that those people, first off, don't want to be around you because it reminds them of, oh, okay, that person apparently like is so focused on themselves, like, I'm not getting a payout out of it. They remind me of everything I'm not doing with my life. And so these relationships naturally just like really take their course. But the whole thing is to say, I'm not going to actively completely push this out because I'm getting a payout out of it. So I'm subconsciously even getting this kind of energy. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to improve my life in a way where I'm excited about my life. Like if I would tell a story about my life, it becomes epic. Like there's a reason why we call this INFJ epic life. We want you to feel like you're living that epic life. And it's not about like if somebody understands it, it's about you thinking that. Like sometimes there are people who might say, oh, you're living such a great life. Well, does this feel like this to you? Those are two separate things. So the moment you start creating that epic life for yourself, those relationships naturally just take their course, because what you're already creating for yourself already feels better than any kind of payout that you're subconsciously getting throughout that toxic interaction. Excuse me. Okay, let's see. Okay, so Alex says, I think this is a lot to do with the current video. How do you have your hermit time when you're in a relationship? How do you help your partner to understand it is necessary? So one of the things that, is also super important in relationships is we always approach situations with the thing of, I need the other person to understand where I'm coming from. Because if they don't, they are going to think that I'm selfish, that I'm not a good partner, that I'm, cold, whatever it may be. And so there's this thing in our mind of, I need the other person to reflect back to me that what I need is okay, that what I need is acceptable. But the thing is this, you need that hermit mode time. You need it. One way or another. Let's say, and I'm just giving an example, just to make it understandable or easy. Let's say you would need one complete day without talking to anybody a week. And nobody can understand this. The thing is this, you still need this. And we have to get to a place where we're not making any kind of, compromises on that. There's certain things we need in order to feel good about ourselves. And it's like, for example, I want harmony in my relationship. Some relationships, people stay in them although there's chaos. And if you have like this thing of, I need harmony in order to be okay, you just don't accept anything else. So the point is to say, well, the real Alex, the person that I am, needs that time. I need it. And then it's on your partner to decide, can I deal with this or not? We so often take it on us to make that decision for the other one. So we say, my partner isn't going to understand it. Like, I need to make them understand, or they're going to feel like I don't love them, I don't appreciate them, and all of those. So therefore, I'm not going to demand what I actually need. And this doesn't have to be only hermit mode. That is the fact that you might need to be your biggest version of yourself and not dim your light, although you're afraid that might intimidate the other person. Give them a chance to like you for who you truly are. We're so doubtful of, who we really are as INFJs because we don't have the examples, to be frankly honest, of, oh, it's possible like this. If you, in this example, let's say you need your Sundays completely by yourself and you say, this is not a negotiable. Like, I'm not trying to be unkind. It's just if I don't have that, I cannot be the best partner because I something is missing. Like, I'm not operating at the best version of myself. And I promise you, if you give yourself the time that you need, you're going to be a better partner because then you're giving something out of energy that is overflowing. And otherwise, it's just like, I don't even have enough. And then I cannot give enough. Like, it really comes down to that. So this is not just about relationships, but in general, and in bootcamp, this is something we continuously work through, is let's first figure out what I need and to not look left and right. Oh, other people don't need that, so therefore there's something wrong with it. Well, I need it. And I'm a human being. I'm a human being like every single other person out there. And just because other people don't need, let's say, a day alone, but they need 15 interactions with people a week, that is okay because there's so many of them. But what I do is not like socially acceptable, so therefore it's wrong. No. Every single person has personal needs, independent of if there are a lot of examples of people who have the same needs or not. So that's the whole thing. First, give yourself the permission to demand of you, your life, to give yourself what you need and allow yourself and allow your partner to make that decision for themselves. Can I deal with this or not? And you will be surprised how many people come around, understand this, and through that you create like this new dynamic that is way healthier and makes everybody happier. So let me see, I just had, like, I saw a minute ago something here in yellow. Wow, this is a thank you so much, Janet. So Janet, just yeah, thank you so much, really appreciate it. So let's get back to the to more questions. Oh, I'm jumping around here, so please excuse me for that. So okay, so Mike says but with the speed, okay, so I say, like, always, how are INFJs like, slow, and you say, why are others so, like, you think the other way around. You think like you're fast and why are other people slow? Well, it always depends on the area that you're like looking at. And then the next question that arises is, why are you focused on how fast or slow other people are? In most cases, if people around you are too slow for you, then it's because you're underestimating what you can do. So let's say you're a really good programmer, just as an example, but you don't have the self-confidence to play in a top tier, like, community or startup or whatever it is, because you feel like those are like, I'm betraying myself, whatever kind of stories we tell ourselves as INFJs. We stay around people who are doing the best they can, and that's the output they can generate. And if you know you can generate more, then you're not playing at the level you could be playing. And this is not about like, oh, I'm better than those people. Not at all. Because there's no such thing as, like, I'm not comparing myself to Beyonce and saying, since I'm not like that, I cannot like generate so much, like I'm doing something wrong. No, I'm looking at it from the perspective of what is the potential of my life. And if I'm tapping into that, I won life. And everybody else does that for their thing. And if there's somebody who have like 100% more energy than me, then they need to tap like at a different level than me in order to be happy and fulfilled. And that's when they're fulfilling their potential and tapping into it. And I need to do that for me. And that's when we're winning. So if you feel like the people around you are not working, for example, at your level, in most cases, you're underestimating what you're capable of. And, we're optimizing at this, we're playing at this level because it feels safe. I've done this many times. And if you can do more, it's about like challenging ourselves, because what we do very often is we don't want to step out of that, because we feel like then we get some superiority complex, or like this is not going to make me happy anyway. Well, it's not about, oh, I'm going to be happier if I have like a better paying job or anything like this. It's about, am I challenging myself? Am I doing the most I can do and the most I can get? Like, I rather be at a level where I feel like, okay, I'm sort of reaching my limits, instead of playing at a field where I know if I would do just 50% of what I'm doing, like people would still think I'm doing a great job. We're not really giving ourselves to do the best we can do. And every single time we do that, we're always going to feel depressed somehow, because it is depressed. Like, think about what depression means. It's like, and that's what we're doing. You're dimming your light more, most likely. So go get and work with people, or have some kind of outlet where you can either lead people because you're faster, or you join people who are already like better at what they're doing. So you find your peers and you really challenge yourself and see how far you can take it. Okay, so Brittany says, how do we know when we're ready to pursue love? Or when did you know? It was really a matter of like, I'm good with all the other stuff. Like, before we're ready to get like somebody new in our life and add to our life, we already have to be on a trajectory of, that's where my life is going. Because what most INFJs do is we give up our life. That's the reason why so many INFJs have long distance relationships. Um, why we have so many what's the word, there's this internet word that I see last time that just is so INFJ actually, imagination ships, right? Because there's like, if there's a person and they have a life, and we can just leave our old life behind and join their life, then everything is going to be better. This is just something that works in our mind. And so, because nothing really works out like this, it's always like this toxic thing that never works out. But what does work out is if you already know, okay, I know where my life is going. I know who I want to be, what I want to achieve, where do I want to live, what I want to, like, that there's some kind of connection, some kind of anchor to the real world. Like, we already are so much in our head, but there has to be something. It has to start with you, right? We cannot just, like, let's say we're this cloud and then we just anchor it in somebody else's life. That's when things are not working out. But when this is what I want to do, this is where I'm going, this is how I play my future out, and then we really look at, how can I add somebody to that equation that fits into my life, and not how can I fit into their life. Like, if you fit into their life or not, that's for them to decide. It's on you to decide, do they fit into my life? How does that logistically work? Is this somebody that I can live out the life I want and they can be added to that, right? And if you get to a place like this and things are already on that way where you have the stability, you can trust yourself, like that path is already established, not just in your mind, but things are happening in the real life. That's the best time to say, now if I want to, and this is not a necessity, of course, if I want to add somebody to my life, now I'm ready. And this is also something, again, in boot camp, like there's a entire lesson on this, how to approach this. Like, I have a video here on online dating. If you want to learn more about this, like, check that out. I believe, like, if you go through that and you don't do like the typical Tinder things and stuff like this, you're really helping yourself to figure out who actually fits into my life and is a good addition to where I'm going. Here, yeah, John says it here. I found making heavy compromise in relationship makes me miserable and resentful. Yes, and that's why we have to be so clear about what we want and need. And those relationships, like, it's not just not just romantic relationships. Like, I've seen this in family situations again, where I knew in order for me to be happy Like with what I want, I need to be very clear about my boundaries. I need to be very clear about I'm not making compromises in certain areas. Like I want harmony, I don't want any yelling, I don't want any like whatever it is like important for you. And I'm not going on social things, like whatever it may be. And the clearer you become of this, not just towards yourself, but towards others, you're actually giving people the chance to make compromises. We have to stop making decisions for other people, already thinking, oh, they're not going to be okay with that, so that's why I have to um, adapt myself. We're good at adapting. That doesn't mean that we should always do it. So Natasha says, how do we make sure that we act out on our vision and don't let this happen? So I'm pretty sure you mean like that we get to a place where things are just happening in our mind. Well, that's what the 5 pillars are all about. So if you haven't, you can download the free poster on it. The link is here in the description as well. And hopefully I see you in bootcamp as well. It's like really saying, and the continuous, reminder of, okay, what have you done for your physical energy? What have you done to improve your relationship dynamics? What have you done this week for wealth management? So it's so difficult to narrow it down of like what do I need to do, and it doesn't have to be all at once, not at all, but it's like every single time you take a step towards the life you want in real life, it becomes clearer, it becomes easier, and before you know it, it's like totally normal for you to stick with something. So for example, is it a difficulty for you to stick with brushing your teeth? No. So it is possible for us. It is possible for us to do things that work on autopilot that we continue to do because we know I don't like I couldn't like not only the fact that my teeth would, go bad, but I wouldn't feel good about myself. Like that just goes against my identity because part of my identity is I am somebody who brushes their teeth regularly, right? And so that's also the thing. We build on becoming this person who has the identity of if I'm not actively taking a small step towards who I want to be continuously, then I don't feel good about myself. And once you get to this place, things are happening automatically. You just have to do them. Otherwise, it just doesn't feel good. And it's like small steps, it's not things that overwhelm you. And before you know it, you actually have more energy because you remove things that are pulling you down. You get into situations that bring you more energy and, like, take less from you. And then it's like, I want more of this. This feels good. This, like, spikes my dopamine. This, like, I don't know what everything happens, like, what kind of chemicals are really, really being released, but it becomes like this natural thing of I want more of this because this is like a healthy addiction. This is something that makes me feel good. This is something that makes me feel alive and more alive every single day. So, right, it's like we take small steps and we work on building that identity so it doesn't require any willpower. So Lab says, I'm 34 years old, no boyfriend since birth. I love being alone, but not lonely. I love my aloneness. I have peaceful of mind, and I can't bargain in anything in this world. So again, the main point is to get to a place where we're good with what we want to do. Are there INFJs who want to be alone? Yes, please embrace that. If you want somebody in your life, great. If you don't, great. But don't feel any kind of pressure of what society tells you to do. And the more you become okay with that, the more you'll see how the people around you will see it also as something new. For the longest time, when I thought I'm doing something wrong, that I, want more alone time, that I, want to do things in my own space and all of that, and people like, and I felt like on some level there was something wrong with that, then I continuously got into conversations of, yeah, you're doing something wrong because you connect with people who have the same beliefs as you, and if you subconsciously believe that the way you are is wrong, you automatically are going to become friends with people who believe that as well. And so the more we really bring out, this is what I actually want, this is what makes me happy, there is no external checklist of now you're a good person or now you're not. It's all about you understanding yourself. And this is what we learn in bootcamp over and over again. And we really hone it in and we practice it. And the more you learn to trust yourself, and this happens through action, believe it or not, it's not something you can just, I'm thinking it through. It is like I'm taking action, and then the thought process happens automatically. And so through that action, you see that you can trust yourself, that you are going to make the things happen that make you happy. Remember, we want you to look at your life and to think that's epic. And that can look completely different. For me, it was like, okay, my life is epic because I'm doing things on my terms. Like, I'm not looking at what everybody else wants me to do, and I'm proud of what I'm doing with my life. And I'm living the life that I want. And that there is no external thing of now you're doing it right, now you're doing it wrong. There's nothing like that. Okay, so we only have like 3 minutes left. I some last things I wanna here. Okay, just KO, please. Like, I understand this feeling, and I'm glad that you share it with us, but it doesn't have to feel this way, right? This is like the community here, and I'm not just talking about boot camp. Please go in the comment section here and start working on creating that life that makes you happy. That includes, start like being part of some philanthropies, start being part of some charities where you feel like your personal gift can be part of that, right? It's about like stepping out and making those connections with people who like appreciate you for who you are and making that all happen. So I promise you, I felt that. Most of the time, this happens when we're actually hiding our true self because we think we have to show like this facade. That's the only thing that's going to be loved. And every single time you're being loved or even accepted for who you are not, you're always going to feel alone. So it always has to start with, I'd rather be disliked for who I am than to be loved for who I'm not. And I promise you, then you start loving who you're becoming, you start loving the choices you're making, and you really turn this thing around. Like, we're here for you. Guys, I'm so happy that you connect with each other and that you talk, and hopefully this community here, not just on YouTube, like everywhere that we are, is just helping you feel not only less alone. Because my whole thing, and this is how I all started this, it's not about saying, oh, you feel miserable, I feel miserable, well, at least I'm not the only one who feels miserable. That is just a start. We can change that. We can change the trajectory, and it's on us to make that happen. And if we really start with, how can I make today better than tomorrow? We're not saying I need to tap into this vision, but saying like, I feel completely alone. What can I do tomorrow to make me feel, better than I did today? And I promise you, things are happening. Okay, if you have any technical questions or anything like this, write us at info@wences.com. And I hope I see many of you in bootcamp like next week. Remember, we have an early bird offer until Saturday, until Monday. We have a 7-day money back guarantee no matter when you join, but there are no late admissions. So only until Saturday you can join. And everybody else, like as I said, I hope I see as many of you as possible there. And everybody else I see in my videos. Bye guys, have a great day, great week, and start tapping into your INFJ epic life.